What's up, guys? Tuesday night, good climbing session tonight. A lot of new V3s, and the structure, the orientation of the V3s, the grade V3, is different holds, I'm not used to, much different orientations, a lot less confidence. A lot of the V3, V4s are just positioned in a way or they challenge certain skill sets I'm definitely trying to improve in. A couple of those areas require a significantly different style of strength. So I'm getting a little bit more demands on my finger strength. I'm getting a little bit more demands on my one-legged squat strength or one-legged pistol strength in order to be able to press up into positions that I'm not really used to. So there's a couple areas that I've really been focusing on, and then just projecting a little bit, trying these routes over and over and over again, 5 times sometimes. I typically don't try to go over that because I don't want to burn myself out or demotivate myself. But I think that there's a significant number of challenges that are in the gym right now that are going to be really help me advance as a climber, right? It's going to be a challenge to get some of them over the next 6 weeks while they're up. And I've already lost a couple weeks on certain climbs. But also, I think it'll be very good for me as a climber. I've noticed that a lot of the climbers that are there when I started, that are still there, it gets harder to advance, right? So if they were at that V3, V4 range, like they're still kind of there. And so I've caught up in that sense. I also put a lot of dedicated, focused effort with climbing 3 times a week, pretty much every week for the last 12 weeks. So with that dedication and with the drive to improve and with a little bit of cutting weight, I think that things have gone very well. There's a little bit of technique that I think, not a little bit, I think there's a ton of technique that I'm still trying to learn and incorporate and improve at. And so that's also a thing, is stepping down a couple levels. So making climbing easier routes and making sure that my footwork is very sound and strong, and that I'm utilizing different body positions that are a lot stronger and turning my hips into the wall. And building strength in these on easier climbs will then prepare my body and prepare me to utilize those into the higher grade climbs, into the more difficult climbs. So it's a very challenging time, but very exciting in the idea that I think that this is a big step of growth that over the next 3-ish months is when I'm going to be focused on this. Primarily there, with hopefully advancement after that. Now, if I don't make it to the next grade or into the next tier climbing by then, I also think that that's okay. Right? I thought about this today. I think it's a normal thing, or at least it's very normal for me, to constantly look up, where should I be after 3 months? Where should I be after 6 months? Where should I be after a year, right? Trying to check the standard progress that you should experience. And really, what standard is whatever you're going to do. And if you're behind schedule, there's no such thing as that schedule. So you just really got to commit and keep going and keep improving, right? Like, you only lose if you quit. So if you're a little slow or if you're a little fast, I think you just keep going. I think ultimately the ultimate goal is to just keep doing it for as long as you can. If you were to do things for the rest of your life, like the golf is usually typically a good example. You don't meet a lot of old golfers that have golfed for quite a few years that are pretty bad or pretty average. Like, ultimately they get to a much higher level of skill, and that's just the time that's been put in. So I think if after 3 months you aren't where you think you should be, or after 6 months, or after a year, like, who cares? Maybe it'll take you 3 extra months. Maybe it'll take you an extra year. As long as you continue to enjoy it while you do it and don't make it about chasing grades, but just improving as a climber and having fun doing the thing that you want to do, I think grade chasing is a curse. And I think chasing of any tier of performance is kind of a curse. Obviously, we want to be performing at the highest level or be able to be looked as a strong runner, strong climber, strong at OCR. Like, you need to be better than you yesterday. Like, that's the only judgment that matters. That's the only scale that matters. And in fact, at times, I think, dependent upon how much sleep you've had, or if you have the right nutrition, or if it's an off day, like, you might have an off day. and that's going to feel like you backslid. You just got to remember that it is, the longer the timeline, the more successful you'll be. So just keep trucking. Leads me into a little bit with kind of the repeated failures and really learning how to climb at a new level with the new grades. The idea of growth and kind of teaching and learning was a topic that came up discussing with a friend of mine after climbing. And I was thinking about, the skills that they teach you in school that are specifically, English, math, science, or physics, or biology, or all these different things that you learn, history, social sciences, whatever the subjects might be nowadays, which are different than when I was a kid. But those subjects are very targeted, right? And in some essence, some of the most important skills in life are really incorporated in all these lesson plans, theoretically, right? With the wax on, wax off. By writing essays, giving presentations, working in groups, we theoretically learn to communicate and interact with others. Arguably, we probably are expected to understand how we learn. But in that guided learning, it is much different than self-study and self-learning. It's, at no point are we typically judged to self-reflect. At some points, we're not even judged to really in how to think. Ultimately, the essays that we have to put forth aren't really a depth of thought or our take on solving problems and the depth of analysis that really goes into it. So I think there's an element of learning that goes on in those first 18 years and ultimately maybe college and potentially grad school, and you could do a PhD. Ultimately, that's only so much learning. And a lot of times I think people stop. And I think once you stop learning and you stop growing, that's basically, you start declining towards death. You're basically dying. We're dying all the time, but that is accelerated death, I think. So some of the key areas that I think, and that really would be things that I've focused on in the past or right now, or I think there's a shortage of, is the ability to manage yourself, right? It's just an expectation that you either kind of figure it out or you don't. I think most people don't figure it out very well. That's where most people shouldn't really go on to lead other people. The fundamental thing is I think you should be able to manage yourself, manage projects, manage finances before you were ever trusted to manage anyone else. Like I said, how to learn. I think self-study and self-reflection. Fundamentally, how to think. Like that's just a proxy of doing some of these assignments and doing some of these essays. And as we go, maybe those challenges get a little bigger, but once you get out into the real world, with real world problems, the scope grows. The number of variables grows. So it really challenges that ability to think. And I think most people do not seek to improve that over time. They might improve some just through execution. They also might just continue to fail or be in a position in which they don't have to think and they do not have to make decisions that have significant impacts. So when we get into a different pool, so to speak, this is the deep end of the pool. Most people stay in the shallow end. We take things for granted that are actually the most important things in life and that we should keep learning, we should keep pursuing. I mean, communication is present in every area of your life, right? Both professional communication at work, interacting with others, your day-to-day, going to the grocery store, going to the bank, going anywhere, interacting with others, interacting with your waitress or waiter at a bar or restaurant. All these things, your opportunities to improve and do a little bit better at them. I mean, your communications in your personal relationships, right? Where it matters most, with your family or your significant other, your friends. Without the ability to communicate and articulate your feelings, who truly understands you and thereby who can really provide you with the love and support that you need in your life? And these are all areas that I would challenge. I think we should continue to improve all the way up until we leave, till we're done, till the clocks run out. These are the things that are a part of everyday life. I think no matter the life you choose to live, it's just a given that they're going to occur. And to just rely on the fundamental level of growth that we learn in our youth and by proxy through classes and through assignments and maybe in our professional lives. I don't think it's enough. Think about it. Appreciate you guys. Have a safe night.